Are you really a tech bro if you've never found yourself in front of Congress or a select committee? I guess now we know because we're not perverts, we're just practical. Welcome back to the Trading Desk. My name is Ebube and this is the Popcorn for Dinner podcast. Here on the Trading Desk, we delve into the nuances and specific events and character motivations in HBO's industry as a follow-up to the more detailed coverage done by Bankole and Ayo, which drops every Sunday night right after the episodes air. This week on Industry, Robert gets punished again, and a lot. We're going to delve into that. We're going to figure out what his new motivations will be. We're going to figure out how he's going to recover. And we're going to talk about what might lie in store for him going forward. We're also going to talk about what will be coming for the rest of the characters in episode 6 and the rest of the season, because we're in the home stretch now, people. So I'm not alone. I have Ebuka with me once again, and he has a lot to say about everything Robert goes through, because I think he is the last person, at least one of the last people that are still pulling for Robert's health. I don't think Robert is even checking for Robert's health anymore. But in addition to Ebuka, we are joined by our good friend Emike, who used to be an equity research analyst and probably understands a lot of this stuff more than we do, because what's a podcast without an expert? How are you guys doing today?
Just a caveat, I'm not an expert, please.
She used to be.
I used to be in a past life, yes.
In a past life. And this past expertise you're talking about, it's like that guy Frank Wade from episode 3, right? The analyst who went rogue.
Yes, except I definitely could not have gone anywhere near as rogue. But yeah.
Is it normal for people to go rogue like that?
No, I was watching that and thinking, sorry, I know for a fact that especially if you're publishing a huge research report or something related to an IPO, there are teams dedicated to reviewing your research before it goes out, and sometimes even compliance checks and supervisory analysts. Like, there are so many people who have to check exactly when you're publishing and what you've said. I just don't understand how he could just decide to publish during the panel. So, I mean, usually industry is quite realistic, but that shocked me, not gonna lie.
I think the show knew that we would ask those questions, which is why they had Eric in the same episode ask something along the lines of, how can we be so siloed that this goes on? I think they're trying to say, this is not normal. Peerpoint is just trash. Either that or like they omitted it. But I feel like they wanted to acknowledge it somehow.
It might be them trying to pull things together. Because remember, Adler made a mention in this episode 5 about how they're trying to basically wash their hands off the ESG stuff, right, and move in another direction. So that might be them preemptively fucking the ESG stuff and pivoting. So Eric is the face of that and all his failure. While they
maybe
interesting. So I know one thing we've discussed so far on the Trading Desk is how it doesn't make sense for these guys to put all their eggs in this specific basket.
Of all baskets as well, yeah,
it's like if you're going to put your eggs in one basket, at least let it be a basket that we know is not going to break, like a basket that has been around for 100 years, not ESG, people are still skeptical about.
Yeah.
Especially when it's run by somebody who already comes from money and is kind of just doing this to prove himself to himself. Yeah. I don't know. How do we feel about Muck in this episode? Because Muck also goes through a lot, and he's putting other people through quite a lot. And I have to say, Kit Harington is sort of the gift that keeps on giving in this show at this point.
I think he was in his element. This is his scene. This is him having to get himself out of trouble, pull all the connections that he has. He was loving every minute of that press conference. That was the most confident we've seen him, even more so than any of the corporate roadshows or any of the presentations he's done on Lumi.
Do you think it was fake confidence or real confidence?
I think
real as fuck.
Yeah. Like, to an extent.
And that was actually him fully believing everything he said?
Yes.
Mad.
Yeah. Pretty much. It's sometimes even the real confidence is put on and he's convinced himself to be confident. Like, you can tell that it's a persona because it's not him when he's relaxed, but it's still very much his confident version of himself, I think.
it's pretty cool how he's able to kind of channel different aspects of privilege. I've said this about Kit Harington before, but he's very good at portraying privilege in very different ways. I mean, you would think that somebody like Jon Snow, who is and this is somebody that Kit Harington is known very much for playing, like you would think that person would be kind of the depth of his range, but apparently he can take that and be like, okay, what if Jon Snow was actually like a dick
A
who
prick.
believed he was supposed to be where he's supposed to be, not someone who's like doubting himself all the time at the
Yeah,
beginning.
exactly. Yeah.
And yeah, it's an interesting equation. But let's talk a little bit about that select committee because for anybody who doesn't quite understand what's going on, first of all, I don't blame you. But I will say that Lumi at this point has been in the process of getting bailed out by the government for maybe 3 months. And this bailout is to the tune of something like £2 billion. Taxpayers are not happy because essentially there was a tech product that was really done by a startup that Peerpoint and a bunch of other big people convinced the public was actually a government utility. And people signed up for Lumi. People were using it to power their homes, their businesses, and now all of that is literally fading away. So the place is in chaos in more ways than one. People are angry, which is why we're here at this point where they need somebody to blame, and they're doing it on live TV. Now, having said that, this select committee, the person in charge of it, this lady is fierce, and I have to say, if we had someone like her questioning the likes of Zuckerberg, the world would be a very different place. I don't know. What did you guys think of this?
I think it's they're supposed to be like that. Rob was just very, very, I don't even want to say unprepared. I just don't think he was the right person
He was definitely
for
not the
that
right
whole
person.
encounter. And I'm gonna say something, and you know how people have their irrational confidence things. There's people who think they could win a game of tennis with Serena Williams, or people who think they could stay close to LeBron in a game to 21. I firmly
Yeah,
believe that if I'm being cross-examined like that, I could maintain composure. And I don't want to tempt fate. I hope I'm never in that position. But
yeah,
it's just an irrational belief of mine. But yeah, going to the earlier point about Muck as well, is that you could see Robert was scared because even though he knew he was innocent, he didn't think he was going to get off. Muck
yeah.
acted in that thing like he already knew nothing was going to happen. So he was basically doing the whole song and dance with the lady. She was very angry. He was just deflecting and ended up passing the blame. He literally pointed at Robert in the courtroom. I don't know how Robert didn't just die in the
Because they
moment.
told
Robert
him
literally looked like he was dying.
bruh, they told this guy, Lumi and Muck will take the first chance they get to throw you under the bus. And he's like, nah, it's, let me just try and, figure out my lines. Let me try and stay out of the spotlight. Let me not make a scene. Let me just say what they've told me to say. And he doesn't take I think he gets at least
The
two
bait.
chances to throw them under
Yep.
the under the bus, and
Yeah.
he doesn't take it. And then he literally gets pointed at. He's like, "Yeah, this guy right here." It's like, what?
They actually chose one of the worst people possible from everyone on the trading floor to represent
Yep.
Peerpoint because Rob just can't think on his feet. Like he looked the one thing
Yeah,
he could have
I
done is
think that is
actually
his one flaw.
yeah, like if he just looked a bit measured, even if he was saying rubbish. It's actually about how you present. And he absolutely looked like he was melting on the spot. Like it was just you have third hand embarrassment watching it. It's just yeah, he didn't know what to do.
And I think the
Oh
saddest thing
gosh.
is from the outside looking in, obviously I don't know how it actually works, but from the outside looking in, from what they've shown us, Robert looks to me the least guilty in this whole mess. Like from the Peerpoint side. His job was
Oh yeah.
literally to babysit Muck. He
Yeah.
had no I don't know, man.
And
They
he did
fucked
that.
up.
I
He
mean,
fucked up.
he did that the best he could. Even when Muck was like biting back at him. But I mean, having said that, one could argue that he could have done more. Like, I wonder how someone like, say, Gus would have done in this role. Like, can you imagine
No.
Gus managing Muck? Would it even
I don't
Yes, I
last?
think
can.
I don't think
Yes, I
Gus could have
can.
done this.
I think he could
You
have
can
done
imagine
I
that.
that?
don't
Okay,
think
tell us more.
Yeah. I feel like when you think back to what he was like as a tutor for Jesse Bloom's son, I think he's actually very
Yeah,
used to hanging out with people like Muck. And
yeah,
Yeah, he's quite confident. He knows his
Because
stuff,
Gus
and he
comes from
also
privilege too.
he does. Yeah, and I think he would have known his way how to known how to like weasel his way out of tough questions a bit more than Robert did, and just kind of kept his cool a bit better.
Definitely.
I actually agree. I actually agree.
Oh, poor Roberts. Sweet, fuckable Roberts. I can't believe that line was straight out of Succession. I can't believe she just said, because you're
It was.
fuckable.
It's
It really
just
was.
like, I mean, wow. Like multiple times in the episode, people are asking, should this be Robert? And like, is he being hung out to dry? And the confirmation is literally yes every time. But we
Yep.
watch Robert go into this literally like he's just walking into the lion's den, and he's like, no, it's fine. One of the parts that really got me was when they're prepping him, like the very first scene of the episode, where that lawyer is there, is like, "Are you my lawyer or Peerpoint?" And this dude
Griffin
says
lawyer.
something along the lines of, to the extent that your interests align with Peerpoint's interests, I have been instructed by Peerpoint to act in your interests. I was like, Jesus.
The fact that he
Oh
even
my
needed to
god.
ask that just showed he was not set up for success at all.
And
Nah,
fucking
nah.
Eric, man. Eric said a company man would do this. Are you a company man?
I'm sorry,
Eric
but
is,
that
I mean, is Eric
question,
even a company man? I don't know.
like, first of all, none of them are company men, and also that question, you're not supposed to.
It's
Well, sorry,
loaded.
it is
Yeah.
loaded, and I just
No, I'm
feel
saying
like
it's a loaded question. I agree.
yeah, and the like I don't know what the correct answer to that question is in the corporate world. Like you probably, if you want to keep your job, you say yes. But like Robert actually seems to want to be a company man, and that is questionable to me because you know how company men get treated, and you actually want this for yourself, and that's like why he's constantly the butt of all the worst that happens because
You're allowed to say it. That's why he's fuckable. Because he wants to
yeah,
be
yeah, pretty
fuckable.
much, yeah.
Oh my god. Oh my god. Wow, wow, wow. It's really
Bro,
sad. It's really
my
Yeah.
poor
sad
baby.
because like if we look deeper into it, right, it's because Robert doesn't really have anything left to turn to.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like
like the
everything's
desperation
being
is
stripped away
showing.
from him,
Yeah.
and then on top of that, as if it's not enough. And I know I'm jumping ahead a little bit here. You then have Yasmin asking him questions like, "Why don't you just love me?"
I hated that scene so much. Okay, no, actually, I tell a lie. I love that scene. I just hated how it ended for Robert.
She asked that, and then it's like, "Actually, I have to go, please."
Yeah.
Like,
She's like,
what
I
are you
can't.
doing? I can't. I mean, granted, the phone call she gets is heavy, but
Yeah.
please, ma'am, let's just have some regard for other people's feelings for once, for once.
Nah,
And
it was.
you actually, you know what? Thinking of the way people feel, did you guys believe Aurora? Like, did she have you at the beginning?
No.
Because
No.
she
So
kind of had me in the first act, but then I was like, nope.
she had me until she resigned. Like she had me when she was like, the buck falls on us, blah blah blah. Scandal has become notorious. I was like, okay, go on. And then she was like, that is why I've just come from number 10. I was like, ah, right,
I
okay.
I
was like,
think
okay, this is it.
I think I've been reading too much UK politics news. I just, as soon as I saw her show up,
You're
I
just
was like,
jaded.
this lady is scheming. I knew something was coming. I didn't know what it would be, but I knew she was scheming.
She definitely was. I mean, just this whole idea of the fact that she's buddy buddy with people like Mostyn and Norton.
Exactly.
It's like,
Exactly.
okay, she's clearly aiming for something higher. This was always a stepping stone. She talks with Gus a lot actually about how certain things are stepping stones to where you want to be. Like, think of who we met in season 2. Look where she is now, and look
Yep.
where she's going. Like, Mostyn literally calls her our next prime minister,
Prime Minister.
Yeah.
just like that. Like, and this is like that Succession episode where they literally go and choose the president.
Yep. And they're like, we
Exactly.
anoint you.
Literally, it's insane. There were so many crazy lines in this episode. We have to, like, we need to look forward to episode 6 and beyond.
Yeah.
But I want us to actually think about the lines in this episode and what they say about the people who said them. And I also want us to talk a bit about Harper. So let's start with Harper and the fact that she's hiding in bathrooms now to do her schemes. Like, just you call her the villain, and then she finds new ways to prove you right every episode. Like, I mean, what did you guys make of, first of all, what Sweet Pea was saying and and Eric's reaction to it, Yasmin's reaction to it, followed by Harper's reaction to it and what we're doing from here on out.
We
Sorry.
spoke about Robert's happiness to be a company man. I think Harper scares me in the fact that, like, obviously I would listen, right? But to go to the extent of like jumping on the toilet seat, I'm like,
Nah,
bro,
this girl,
is
she
this
needs her
Mission
money, bro.
Impossible?
She's like, I'm not leaving money on the table.
punishment. You know that Nigerian school
Yes,
punishment? I think
she
they called
was
it Jesus Christ, where you're like hanging. Like I'm like, this lady is putting herself under physical duress to hear gists, to hear corporate gists.
In
I'm
fact,
like,
when I knew she was like skilled in this, too skilled for my liking, was when she unlocked the door quickly, so
Yeah.
quickly.
I'm like, how did your mind go there? I wouldn't have
Nah,
even
she's
thought,
just
okay, they're
something
gonna
else.
see that it's locked and know that someone is in here. I wouldn't have thought that.
Bro,
It's
she is.
amazing.
She's something else.
Because she's the worst possible person to be inside there.
To-
Like
and I
for
was just
them.
like, of course, yes, of course.
Okay, we'll get back to Harper.
Sorry, one more thing that came to my
because
mind when
because I know Emike has thoughts.
but even before my thoughts on Harper, one thing that came to mind was these guys love their company so much. Because I'm sorry, if I heard my company was about to like go to shit, right? Like everything is
Yeah.
going
He'd be heading for the exits,
I'm
running
like,
for the
okay,
hills.
what am I doing next? These guys are there. Sweet Pea was crying.
Not how do we save Peerpoint?
No, like Sweet
She
Pea was
was
literally crying.
actually.
I'm like, my dear, why
Yeah,
are you
Sweet Pea.
crying?
Sweet Pea was very stressed.
Like you don't own this company.
Actually, now that you mentioned it, I can't stop laughing because, bro, why was she so stressed? That's insane. These people don't care about you.
Like
And she's probably in the best position if Peerpoint gets fucked. Someone like Eric is screwed because that's his entire life. But her, she
Yeah.
could probably get
Yeah.
hired tomorrow somewhere
Yeah.
else.
She
So,
can
yeah.
literally work with Harper.
and
Oh
I
my
mean,
God.
I think that a number of them will, because that's the right thing to do
End
in
up
this
working with
situation.
Harper.
Yeah,
That's what you think?
I do think so. At least Robert.
I think
Oh, okay.
that's actually interesting
Robert's
you say
going to
that
go over
because
to like the private like the private side. Well, I mean, he's already in the private side, but like we're talking hedge funds,
The buy
venture.
side, yeah.
buy side, yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Because they put hints in this episode, right? Otto said to him, like, your friend Harper has made the move, you
Exactly.
next. And I'm starting to feel that this might be me being cynical. And I remember we had an episode earlier in the season, and I didn't want to say Yasmin was bad at her job or whatever. But I feel like Harper listening to that conversation was her being like, okay, Sweet Pea, you can come with me. Yasmin, you are staying here. Because Yasmin was just like, oh, don't worry about it. Let's just keep doing our jobs. Harper
But
just
it
shook her head
also
at that moment. I
depends.
was like,
But it depends on what happened on that boat because we don't know the trauma bonding that has happened between
true,
Harper and Yasmin yet. We don't know
true.
how much Harper is willing to like throw Yasmin under the bus just yet.
Can Harper trauma bond? Like that's I'm sorry to say it like
That's a
that,
good question.
No,
but it makes me
fair.
actually
Trauma
think
bond or
that's
trauma bonding or trauma usage.
bro. There's just more that she has against Yasmin. I'm scared.
Nah, man, it's wild. But I do like this line of thinking, because it's like nobody is safe essentially. So I wonder, even for someone like Eric, as you said, he would have nowhere to go. But like he says about Roberts, right? He says at the beginning, he's a young man. Early in his career, he'll recover. Right. That's part of why Eric doesn't send himself. He says it's because he's the internal face of Lumi's failure. But really, it's like if he goes there, he's finished.
Yeah.
Though
Yep.
he would have been able to handle himself better. He could have thrown them under the bus. But then it's like, okay, what's going to happen to him from like the Otto Mostins and Nortons of the world, right? So we don't know
Literally-
what the retaliation would be.
Literally, I think part of the reason why they sent Roberts was that Roberts wasn't big enough to be the
Discarded.
sacrifice.
Like,
to,
nobody's going
to be the sacrifice. Yeah,
him.
exactly. They wouldn't care. But if Eric went, they'll be like, okay, fire this guy, and then it's all square, right? We'll make it clean. But Eric,
Yeah.
but with Rob, the opposite.
Yeah, it's wild.
Before we go on to the next episode, I just want to. There was when Sweet Pea was telling Eric about that entire thing. That scene made me sit up so much, and it's my favorite scene every time I rewatch the episode. It's just masterful, man. The camera work and then the music that comes in as soon as Sweet Pea leaves. this show is going. They're taking some big risks this season, some big
Mm-hmm.
swings, and they're knocking them out the park, man.
100%. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, Mickey and Conrad said as much. It's like, how do we tread new ground while keeping the stakes really, really high, right? For example, with Harper, they could have done something where, like, it's a time skip and she's still at Peerpoint somehow. It's like, okay, we now work back. How did she get here? But it's like, no, let's not do that. Let's put Harper in a different place, and now you can see how that's serving the story. So I definitely like that. And yeah, as I said, in terms of serving the story, sometimes these lines are insane, right? I'm just gonna recount some of the standouts, right? First of all, you have Muck talking about only dating down, but then
That line killed
right
me.
after at the end, because again, this episode, right? There's too much happening. Because lest we forget, they do ayahuasca at the end. Okay,
That was random.
Don't even
they
go to
literally they're tripping at the end for no reason, and he looks at Robert. He's like, "We must find a way to monetize this."
That killed
Which
me.
is just crazy. That was too much. And then when he at the beginning when he's telling Yasmin to pee on him, which again, curveball out of left field. He's like,
Was that really out of left field? We've been waiting for that.
I can't believe it took it.
because
I can't believe it
Treacle warned us. Okay,
Treacle warned us.
Like,
Isn't it so
Sweet
funny that her
Yolanda.
name is Treacle as well?
Oh my gosh.
it's definitely on purpose. I'm telling you. It's definitely on purpose. This episode was actually funny. Like, this is one of those things where it's like you're watching a full-on drama and like it's just comedy for like 50 minutes straight. Because how can this guy look at Yasmin straight in the face and say, "I'm not a pervert, I'm practical"?
I'm practical. It's
like
it's a
this is us
vulnerability
being
thing.
vulnerable.
I honestly wish I had a way to explain my kinks like that. Like, it's a vulnerability
Like,
thing.
what are you
Trust me.
saying?
I mean, now you've got
This
it.
guy-
They've written
the-
the script
the
for you,
confidence is
so you
wild.
just have to just copy and paste.
Exactly. It's a
He told
vulnerability.
her just
thing.
relax and think of England.
Industry is a fucking insane show because did they really have to show the yellow?
The thing is,
They
I
didn't
was
have to
trying
do
to
that.
eat. This was after a long day, and I'm like, let me have my dinner and balance in front of this show. And as soon as he said, I said, oh, no. I put my food away because it was like,
They're not gonna
I'm
do
not
it,
really,
are they?
like, are we really? And then they started panning the camera down. I'm like, do we really need to do this? Do we need to see
it's
that?
insane
No, man.
because other standouts include 2 + 2 = fucked. As stated
That's what
before,
you're saying.
why can't you just love me? It's too bad the heart palpitations you get from shit gear
shit.
doesn't count as cardio. And oh my god, of course, she's the bullet to take me out of the Great War. What?
Oh.
I think he actually believes his lies.
He definitely he believes it. That's why it's great. This guy believes it. He thinks he's writing real
Yeah,
time poetry.
he
He's
does.
telling Robert, I'm in love with her. Like, have you? Has he not been here before? And also, what's killing me? That guy from episode 3, the guy who's supposedly from the Lint family, which
Yeah.
kind of went over our heads the first time. It's like, this guy's from like the chocolatier family, the Lints.
Oh, is that who you're supposed to be?
Yes, I think so.
Oh, crap.
Like, because they
Oh,
say
shit,
Lint,
yeah.
and it's like, and they're in
And they're like,
Switzerland, and he's
they
like,
own
my
the
family
hotel,
owns this
yeah.
hotel.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, first of all, that's interesting. Number one. And number two, how is he still here? I thought we weren't friends with him anymore.
Why?
Same.
Because he said
I
something
thought
stupid
so
in front
too.
of Yasmin.
I mean, it wasn't
I mean,
just
because
saying
he
something
said something stupid to
stupid.
Yasmin, and Muck is like in Yasmin's
Yeah.
corner, right? And
Yeah.
and he even tells her, like, forget about that guy. But this,
Yeah.
like, I expected at least. I mean, fine, sure, some time has passed. We can say some time has passed, so we were not sure, but still, I don't know. It's
Men need
I
to
was
hold their
I was
friends
annoyed to see him there.
accountable.
If that was their intention,
That's just one
if the intention
example.
was for me to be annoyed, I was annoyed.
Also,
Oh my god!
can we talk about?
It's funny you say that. It's funny
Sorry,
you say
go
that
ahead.
because when I was watching the episode, someone mentioned why is Muck still hanging around this guy, and I was like, hey, we all have friends that are idiots, so it's just funny that you say that.
This is
Because
exactly
guilty.
what we're talking about. This is what you
Guilty.
guys are here. Like, how is that guy still around? Look within.
Not look within.
No, really,
Fair
look
enough.
within.
This is crazy.
Fair enough.
No, you know what? You ate with that. You
Fair
ate.
enough.
No, but also before
Okay.
we move to the next episode, we haven't spoken about Katie. Did you guys see that coming?
A little bit. A little bit actually, because her energy towards this guy has just been it's been one of being completely done, like just detachment, just discontent.
I think in the
She's
beginning
just
she
like
showed a lot of devotion. There was always this sort of
at the
lingering
beginning.
glance between
Sure,
them.
but it
Yeah,
was kind of comes from history, because remember at the beginning of episode 2, first of all, he forgets her name, Madman. Then he goes on
crazy.
he goes on to say, "What should I do?" And she just looks at him like, "What do you mean?" Like, and I remember thinking in that moment, this person should be saying some kind of answer, no matter what it is, just to keep her job. He's like, because he's like, tell me it's gonna be okay. But she
Yeah,
doesn't do that. She just goes like, "Why are you asking me?" Like, she has this face of, "Why are you asking me?" And then she leaves. And when you really think about it, that can only come from somebody who is tired of your nonsense.
tired of
Yeah,
dealing with you.
yeah. But also the look she gave when they were having sex on the plane, I couldn't read
Yep.
that because she was kind of smirking. She
Yeah,
didn't
Yeah, she was
seem like she
smirking
was
at
upset.
Robert and Eric, because she was just looking like, "You guys, I see you guys are new here.
Right, right,
Just have your
yeah.
seats."
But it makes you
That
think
was
whether they
funny.
were kind of they had their own thing going on the whole time and he would do this with other people, or whether for a period of time like she was the main. Like I really wonder what their
Yeah.
dynamic was really like
But it tells you the kind of person he is, though, because he's aware of his history with Katie, and he's still doing this with new people
in
right
front
in
of
front of
her.
her.
Yeah.
Even though, like, I mean, I don't know, maybe he thought the Mr. Porter account would 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 make up for it, but I don't know. Like, she gets so distraught that she leaves the room, and that was definitely sad, because he's saying everything he's saying, knowing she's right there,
Yeah.
and he hears when she leaves, and he's just like,
And he
as I
didn't
was
turn
saying,
around. He
like,
was just yeah, yeah.
yeah. Oh my god. Okay, so as far as the rest of the season is concerned, episode 6 specifically, we have a few smoking guns, or rather pieces of ammunition that could go off at any point, or get some bombshells. We have the fallout from this, which isn't truly a fallout because we've seen that they're basically partying right after. We have everything that could happen at Peerpoint. We have everything that will happen with Yasmin now that she's gotten the news that she's gotten. And we have the intentions of Harper and Leviathan Alpha now that Harper has heard everything she needs to hear to
Hmm.
bury Peerpoint, essentially. So, which direction do you think they're going to take first? And I mean, a viable answer is all of the above. I personally think it is all of the above. Having said that, where do you guys think is the best place to focus? Like, what are you most looking forward to them exploring from these things I've listed out?
I think two main things I'm looking forward to them exploring. One is exactly what happened to Yasmin's dad. This is industry, so it can't be as on the nose as, oh, I pushed him into the water. Like, I have a feeling she
Hmm.
didn't actually kill him, but she did
Okay.
something she made a decision that led to him dying. And I believe that Harper was
Okay.
involved. I
So
have
we
so
fully believe
many.
he's dead. It's not like you don't think we're going to find out that, like, oh, the body is not actually
Oh,
his.
no, that's too
No.
much now.
We fully believe he's dead. Yes. Are we
Yeah, I
agree?
feel
Are we agreed on this?
he's
Okay.
dead, yes. I have a feeling she wasn't sure he was dead. She hasn't
Okay.
been walking around, like walking around carrying guilt and on edge that someone is going to come and arrest her. And even her getting the call, she didn't react like someone who's thinking like the police are coming for me. They're going to uncover the evidence. So I have a feeling whatever she
Yeah.
did put him in a position where she didn't know he would die. But this has confirmed that he did.
Okay.
So that's one
Fair.
thing I want
Yeah.
them to
Fair point.
explore. The second thing, as you know, my theory, which, okay, so I
Hmm.
watched the episode and I literally said out loud, Harper is going to short Peerpoint to oblivion. Then I went
This
back.
is equity research analysis,
No, because
people. This
like
is why
what
she's
else would
here.
but like what else would you do with this information? That is how you make serious bar off of this. Then I actually went back to watch the trailer again. And guess what Harper said to I can't remember what's the name of her partner for Leviathan Alpha? Anna?
Petra.
Petra.
Petra, there we go.
Petra.
She said, there might be a time bomb in the sector. What if I said to you,
Hmm.
Peerpoint was the short of the century? So this is basically my pitch
Hmm.
to Conrad and Mickey to hire me as a writer because obviously, like that was
Okay.
without me even remembering that
You,
that was in the trailer. So she has to do it, you know?
Okay. Okay. Fair
And then
point. Fair
also,
point.
she'll go to jail for insider trading as well.
Oh, you think that's still a
oh,
thing that can happen?
Yeah. No, for this is also insider trading. This is her
How
second
so?
strike.
no.
She
No,
got the
but nobody
information.
knows that she was told.
There's security everywhere in banks. Like, she went into the bathroom after those guys. She came out, like, all they need to do is review the tapes. Once she shorts Peerpoint, Yasmin, like, someone is going to ask Yasmin what happened because there's too many links between her and Harper. Or Yasmin herself will go to Harper and be like, how did you hear this thing? Harper might make a mistake and
Uh
be
huh.
honest. Like, there's so many possibilities, but she's going down for this. This is literally her
That
downfall.
that perfectly that
Wow.
perfectly links into another line in the trailer where Yaz is angry at Harper for fucking her again. So it could be
She's like, I
this.
needed my
Right.
friend and you used me.
Yeah, exactly. So
Uh
it
huh.
could really be this.
Okay.
Personally, I
I
next
like it. I
episode
like it.
Yaz and her dad. I'm happy to go with Yaz and her dad and then take a little breather from current happenings and then come back in episode 7 to see what's happening with Pierpoint. A more
Okay.
relaxed Roberts. Because I think in the trailer as well, someone says to Robert, Pierpoint is fucked. And he's like, what's new? I don't know if they cut that up creatively. He's feeling very confident, right? And yeah, he's feeling very confident in who he is in the next episode. So I think he's gone through some sort of enlightenment and he now feels zen with whatever happens, right? He's not too tied to his job. He's not desperate to be a company man anymore. He seems like he'll be okay regardless.
Yeah. I mean, being a company man is what's keeping him afloat at this point because he has something to latch onto. So I think
It's
all
what's
that's
keeping
left for
him
him once
afloat, but
this.
it's also what's drowning him. Like, it's crazy.
Yeah, exactly. So once it goes away, he's
Yeah.
just gonna become he's just going to become aloof. He's probably just going to become like,
Yeah.
I don't even care. Let the ship go down. We're all going to drown. What matters? Like nothing matters. Like he's going to reach the end of his rope. And I mean, look at the visions he was seeing. Let me call them visions, but visions he was seeing in episode 5 is like Muck is there laughing and crying at urine coming out from Nicole, who is dead. You know what?
So that entire sequence is it was a great horror sequence. That's why I was so
Yeah.
shocked at how good it was. That would not feel out of place in a horror film because Nicole appears and she looks like a wax figure first of all, and then she starts
Yes.
peeing. And what tops it off, what makes it amazing is that she just keeps peeing. Like it gets to a point where you think she's gonna stop, and then it just gets creepier because she just keeps going.
Yeah.
And yeah,
Yeah,
Roberts,
this could
I
have
don't
been
know.
directed by Lonnie Pettister,
I
who's
I am very
he's done a lot of horror.
intrigued as to why Roberts had such a sad trip, and Muck seemed to be enjoying his
It
so
could be that
much.
Muck is just used to it, and this is part of what fuels his nonsense.
Maybe.
And
I
Robert,
think,
I feel like for him doing this for the first time, I'm assuming it's his first time, there would be a little bit of trepidation, and there would also be a little bit of just his body kind of panicking as to like, wait, what are we going through right now?
yeah, I also think
Just
it
a
was
bit of a
bringing
visceral
out
reaction in that
everyone's
sense.
kind of true state. Like, Robert is
Yeah,
probably just deeply depressed by every single
he's
thing that
deeply
he's
scared inside,
experienced.
100%.
Scared and also just sad. I think Henry is just kind of silly and all he cares about is money and making money. And so that's why mid trip he's like, how do we monetize this? And all he's doing is just laughing like a fool because that is who he really is. Like there's not much to Henry Mark, in my opinion anyway.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's an interesting read.
fair enough. Fair
There's
enough.
no further enlightenment for Henry to reach.
There's no like
This
for
is
you
just
to
him.
be in that state and all you can do is just laugh. I mean, sorry, I don't know
Think
much
about
about I
money.
don't know much about it, so I don't know what happens on trips. But like, all he could do was laugh and think about money. Like that was
Ebuka, why are
it.
you laughing? That's a very
No,
suspicious laugh.
no, I just laugh because all these drugs that could change who I am after I do them. Please calm me out, man. I don't want to
Yeah,
change.
miss me with that
You're
stuff.
like, I
Like
just
all
want to laugh.
just
Bro, I don't want to change. I don't want to
yeah,
come out
healthier
and be
ways to
like,
laugh.
yeah. I
Oh my
was,
god.
I was actually scared that Robert would kill himself I don't know why,
Same,
but
same,
when
same.
Mark said to him, "Yeah, whatever you do, don't look in the mirror." I don't know. I just got
I didn't
super scared
understand
for
that.
him for a second.
I mean,
Yeah.
the idea of death is also something that's prevalent in this season. Just on the back burner, right? Nicole dies in episode 1, right? And Robert has been kind of in a crisis since then. We learn about Muck's dad in episode 3, who killed himself, and he said that he also had suicidal tendencies, right? There's also, of course, this whole thing with Yasmin's dad. And now I'm wondering, is anyone else dying this season?
I was just gonna
Like,
ask that.
is that something? I mean, I would trust Emike's judgment because the last person she spoke very strongly about did things didn't end well for him. So
Who was that?
he ended up on the Logan Roy.
Oh, that's so
Like
true.
you
I
said everything
forgot.
you said, and you were like, yeah, this is. You just said that like the future was not bright for him, and then literally
Wow.
3 episodes later, he's on a
He
plane
died.
I need
dying,
to be.
and I was like,
I need to be
I was like,
very
okay, whatever she
careful.
says, I'm on board.
I don't think it will be a main character who dies. Like Yasmin is
Okay,
not dying. Robert,
right.
it wouldn't make sense for Robert to die. I actually think Robert is ending up on top somehow. I don't think that Peerpoint like getting like going to shit would affect Robert to that extent that he would kind of drown. I think he's just going to be released from the shackles and just fly.
Yeah.
Harper can die. No, because let me explain. I think that like
Okay.
I think they are soft launching industry without Harper with how much she's not on our screen.
Huh.
And we're still enjoying it.
Conrad and Mickey, man, they spoke in the
Yeah.
interview they had with Banky how they like to challenge themselves, right? They'll be like, okay, we want to do
Yeah.
this. How can we make it work? I
Because
don't put it
how
past them.
much longer can we keep going back and forth? Like they did say in the episode as well that they've done the whole Eric and Harper thing for too long. So I get now why it's like Harper is in a completely different position of power, but it's
Yeah.
still tussling. It's still Harper and Peerpoint tussling somehow. The show cannot continue like that. So maybe it's like a Harper versus Eric thing on like Who Lives.
This is an interesting idea for sure. For me, I feel like it's not impossible for Muck to die. I don't know if it's likely that anybody truly will die, but I don't
Yeah.
think it's impossible for Muck because he's just like this man is not one for self-preservation. Like from the moment we meet him, he's just like, yeah, you know, I'm just gonna take what was it, Percocets? I don't even remember what he took. Like he was just sitting in the bathroom.
Psilocybin.
This guy is just
Psilocybin.
he's not trying to be here for too long. Let's just put it that way. He's
That
just
would be terrible.
he's
That
here
would be
for a good
terrible for
time, not a long
Yasmin.
time.
I do not want to see Yasmin if that happens, honestly.
I mean, okay, so I mean we know that Robert has suggested that Henry kind of like will take care of Yasmin if anything happens, right? And she flat out says at the end of this episode, "I killed him," which that's unequivocally our truth now. So I wonder if ending up because now she doesn't have her father's money, right? So what if ending up with Muck is literally the only way she's able to like maintain her
We're
lifestyle
forgetting
and be the
that
person
this
she
babe
is?
is a high flying sales trader
She
at an
is,
investment
but that's
bank.
not billionaire money.
But
She
also,
is.
I also think part of Yasmin's arc is slumming it, is learning how to slum it. I think she's
Yeah,
going to
learning how to be
realize.
like a not so entitled person, but I don't know
Yeah,
if I'm yet to see if she's truly capable of that. Like, I mean, as Emike is saying, she'll be fine. She's definitely going to be okay, but she's used to like the unlimited, like the truly unlimited. Like someone like
yeah,
Eric, he still has to
Yeah.
worry like, oh, what happens if all this falls out from under me? People like Muck don't think of those questions. Don't even exist. You know.
yep.
Yeah.
A couple things, quick things I wanted to touch on the episode before we left. I think first one, I cannot believe. Go ask your boss; he'll tell you who I am. Came from a
Masala.
nepo baby, bro. I thought this guy was saving Adler's life, like he was holding everything together. The way he
Right?
said, "Go ask your boss," He was like,
And then it turns out, yeah, I'm just here because I'm here. It's not your business.
It explains so much about his character, though.
Oh my
He's
god,
untouchable.
bro!
No.
That's what.
Because he's
Remember, he
not
came
just a
in.
nepo baby.
when Rishi was yelling at him in episode 4, I was actually dying because Rishi had it
thing
up
is-
to here. He's like, "Yo, where did you come
Yeah.
from, though?"
And he's not just a nepo baby like Yasmin. He's a nepo baby who has literally been positioned in this job. Like Yasmin
Yep.
probably still maybe applied or something to that extent. This guy is kind
At
of
least she
untouchable,
thought
at
she
least.
applied. She definitely didn't apply. Like her dad says as much, but she thought she applied. She thought she was making moves.
True.
She didn't make a
Yeah.
single move. Yasmin. Anyway, let's see how the rest of the season goes. Just know that this guy, this Musala guy, he's like a source of comic relief for me at this point, because Rishi is out here yelling at him like, "Where did you come from?" And he's just like, "You're in my personal space." Like, come on. The man
And
is
then he
too
looks at Eric and says, "Oh, this is nice, very nice." While he's not wearing any costume at all, no effort.
He's like, "There's no way."
had
He's like,
beautiful
that you could
gowns.
tell that he's like, "There's no way I'm participating in this." Like, are
It's
you?
nonsense.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Well, that is a good place to call it. I'm definitely looking forward to episode 6, especially. I'm looking forward to seeing how people react to it, because at least one of the things we've talked about today is going to be revealed. So I think it could change the course of the show. And yeah, that's really what we're here for. We're here for the big swings as Ebuka said. So definitely keep it locked to the Popcorn for Dinner feed, because we're going to be covering it right after the show airs. And we're also going to be here on the Trading Desk next week to look forward to how things are going to affect episode 7 and 8, which have some of the most insane titles that you've ever heard for TV episodes. They just tell you exactly what you should be expecting. So I'm looking forward to those. In case you missed it, Mickey and Conrad, who created and run Industry, were actually on the podcast this week. Bankley and Aya interviewed them, and they had an interesting conversation about where the season is going, how they got to where they are now, and what we can expect in terms of tone. We also learned a bit about why Eric hasn't done coke since 9/11. So these are the real questions, and we ask them right here on this podcast. So definitely subscribe to our newsletter, where we talk a little bit about that and everything that's coming in the future, including our coverage of Slow Horses, which has just started. So definitely listen to the guys cover that. That's going to be an interesting season as well. Apple is not so great at letting you know how great their TV shows are, but man, do they have some great TV shows. Yeah, till next week, guys.